Discover the incredible life-changing journey of this grandmother, a heartwarming, touching story. In the heart of Maplewood, 70-year-old Mabel stood behind the counter of Mabel's Goodies, the smell of freshly baked bread filling the air. The sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the rows of cookies and cakes, but beneath that warm exterior lay a heart heavy with worry. Mabel had poured her life into this bakery, the cornerstone of her family's legacy, but looming over it was a corporate giant, ready to snatch it away. She smiled, her worn hands steady as she passed a warm blueberry muffin to a regular, Mrs. Thompson. "Enjoy, dear." She beamed, but inside, her heart raced. What if this was her last muffin to give? Though the town had touched her heart with kindness over the decades, recent years had seen a shift. The wealthier families looked down from their polished lawns at those like Mabel, seeing them as failures rather than fueled by the grit typical of true American resilience. Yet, her loyal customers had other thoughts. Seeing the bakery in jeopardy stirred something deep within the community. Over coffee and whispered conversations, they rallied like a flurry of autumn leaves swirling in the wind. A social media campaign sprouted, reminding everyone just how important Mabel's Goodies had always been. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Meanwhile, as whispers of hope filled her bakery, a tempest brewed outside. The dark clouds rolled in, heavy with rain and wind that howled like a banshee. Mabel watched from her window as the storm unleashed fury on the town. By morning, Maplewood was in shambles, power lines down, streets flooded. Her heart sank at the sight, but she knew what she had to do. The bakery became a refuge, her shelves lined with warm bread and hot coffee for neighbors who had lost everything. The community poured in, each face a testament to enduring hope, as they gathered around Mabel sharing stories of resilience and love. Despite her own fear, Mabel filled every cup and wiped every tear, becoming the soft corner of a hard world. Then, amidst such chaos and heartache, an unlikely opportunity emerged: a local business contest that could change everything. Could this be the chance that turned the tide? But how would she muster enough strength to fight back? Mabel pondered deeply, realizing this contest was more than just about pastries. It was about standing up for every family in Maplewood, every child who craved the sweetness of community. A flicker of determination ignited within her, and as Mabel stood at her front door contemplating a battle for justice, she knew this was only the beginning. Just as she took a deep breath, ready to embrace the challenge ahead, an unexpected knock echoed through the bakery. Surely, this wasn't just another customer, was it? A figure stood there, cloaked in the shadows, their presence suggesting news that could change the course of her fight. Her heart pounded. What now? Mabel hesitated, her hand resting on the door as she wrestled with uncertainty. The knock had been insistent, yet the storm outside had muffled the sound of the bustling bakery. Curiosity and concern intermingled in her heart, urging her to take a step forward. With a deep breath, she opened the door wide, revealing a young woman, soaked to the skin, her hair plastered to her face. Mabel's heart sank as she saw the worry etched across the stranger's forehead. "Can I help you?" Mabel asked, her voice gentle, instinctively reaching out to comfort even in this moment of confusion. "I'm sorry to barge in like this, but the storm, I needed a place to escape." The woman's voice trembled. "I saw the light on. I thought maybe, of course, come inside." Mabel ushered her in quickly, grabbing an old towel from a nearby shelf and offering it to the woman. "Here, dry off. You'll catch your death in that cold." As the woman dabbed her face, she stole glances at the bakery, her eyes widening at the sight of the baked goods lining the shelves. "This place is beautiful," she said, her voice softening. "It reminds me of my grandmother's bakery." Mabel's heart swelled at the kind words, a thread of connection forming between them. "It's my life's work," she said, smiling softly. I try to keep it a warm place for everyone. The woman returned the smile, but Mabel could sense something deeper lurking beneath her surface, a mixture of worry and determination. I'm Daisy, she finally introduced herself. I work for the local newspaper. I came by to cover the business contest, but the storm threw my plans off. The mention of the contest sent Mabel's mind racing. You're here for the contest? She asked, excitement sparking within her. It might just be the lifeline I'd been searching for. Yes. Daisy paused, her expression shifting gravely. But the details have changed with the storm. They're extending the deadline for entries. They want to see how businesses have fared after the disaster. Mabel felt hope bloom within her chest. This was her moment, a chance to share her story, her bakery, and what it meant to this community. But there was a worry still tugging at her. What if I don't meet expectations? What if I fail? Daisy stepped forward, her blue eyes earnest. Mabel, this contest isn't just about success on paper. It's about heart, resilience, and community. The people of Maplewood need your story to fight for their own. You won't be alone in this. Mabel's heart raced, not because of fears of failure, but from the connection they formed. Daisy's passion echoed her own, igniting a fire within her. But a gnawing anxiety remained. What if I'm not enough? The young reporter placed a hand on Mabel's arm. You already are enough. However this contest goes, you have built this bakery from love. That kind of spirit can't be measured. Mabel felt tears prick her eyes. The truth of Daisy's words washed over her, warming her from the inside. The storm still raged outside, the world felt chaotic, but within this haven, hope sparkled. A loud crash of thunder startled them both. They exchanged nervous glances, realization dawning on Mabel this was more than a contest. It was her community, her fight, and the chance to stand strong together. But as she steeled her resolve, a sudden thought emerged. Could she gather enough support for her bakery, enough to make a real impact in the contest? Mabel, Daisy interrupted her thoughts, sensing her hesitation. Can I help you? I'd love to write a piece about you, your bakery, the contest, everyone's story. Let us get people talking. At that moment, with a surge of hope coursing through her, Mabel felt ready to step into this new phase of her journey. But just as she was about to agree, a loud crash outside interrupted once more, signaling that fate might have one more wild twist in store for her. What would happen next? Mabel stood frozen for a moment, eyeing the door as another crash resounded outside. Her heart pounded, a blend of apprehension and adrenaline coursing through her veins. Daisy's expression mirrored her own confusion, but there was fire in her blue eyes, a reassuring spark promising resilience and support. Mabel, Daisy's voice lifted with urgency. What do you think it is? Should we check? Mabel glanced back at the bakery, a room filled with warmth, the sweet aroma of baked goods lingering in the air. She loved this place, her sanctuary, and now it felt like a fragile cocoon. But something inside urged her to face whatever lay beyond those doors. Let us see, she replied, forcing a calmness into her voice. Together, they moved cautiously toward the door, the storm's ferocity rumbling ominously beyond. Mabel slid the bolt open and stepped outside, Daisy close behind. The gusts of wind splashed rain against their faces, but Mabel squinted through the sheets of water to make sense of the chaos outside. As her eyes adjusted, she spotted the source of the crash. A fallen tree branch had battered against the bakery sign, swinging perilously from its hinges. It didn't seem as though there was any real damage, but Mabel's heart leapt at the sight of it, a reminder of life's unpredictability. Just a branch. Mabel sighed in relief, her voice almost lost to the storm. But even as she spoke, another part of her was brimming with the urge to take this as a sign. Could this chaos lead to something new, a chance to rally the community around her? Suddenly energized, Mabel turned to Daisy. What if we made this a part of our story? This storm isn't just damaging, it's about survival. It's about coming together as a community, facing the storm and standing strong together. Daisy's expression brightened. That's brilliant, Mabel. Your bakery could be a haven, a place of hope where people can gather, share their stories, and rebuild after this disaster. Mabel's mind raced, spinning with ideas. We could host a community bake-off. Invite everyone to come in, share their favorite recipes, and we can donate the proceeds to help those affected by the storm. Yes. And I can cover it for the paper. A fundraiser that shows the heart of Maplewood while also promoting the bakery. Daisy exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. Mabel felt warmth spread in her chest. This was more than just a contest, this could be a movement. She imagined the bakery bustling with laughter and stories, people united in warmth despite the raging storm outside. The idea blossomed magnificently, filling her with purpose. Can you help me get the word out, Daisy? We need to start planning right away. Mabel urged, her heart fluttering at the possibilities ahead. I'll talk to my editor and see how we can make this happen. We'll use every platform we have. Daisy replied, already pulling out her notepad, energetic and ready to go. Just then, another crack of thunder shook the ground beneath them, a reminder of nature's wild grip. The storm loomed ominously, yet Mabel could feel the brightness of hope illuminating the path ahead, cutting through the darkness. But in that moment of newfound determination, a fleeting thought crossed her mind: would anyone show up? Would they share their stories and recipes, or would they still feel defeated by the storm? Mabel? Daisy's voice interrupted her thoughts, pulling her back from the edge of doubt. We can do this. I believe in you. You have built something special here. With a heartbeat that was both anxious and excited, Mabel stepped inside the bakery once more, her resolve firming. Let us do this, Daisy. This bakery will be the heart of our community, storm or no storm. As the wind howled outside, Mabel felt the energy shift within her. She was prepared to fight, to turn this moment of chaos into something beautiful. But just as they began to brainstorm ideas, the lights flickered, casting shadows that danced eerily across the walls. Would the storm's wrath extinguish their plans before they even began? Mabel's heart raced as the lights flickered again, causing an uncomfortable tension to settle in the air. The shadows on the bakery walls seemed to swell, creating shapes that were larger than life. She shook her head, trying to dispel the anxiety creeping up on her. Okay, we need to stay focused, she said, her voice steadying with determination. Let us make a list of everything we need for the bake-off. Daisy nodded, pulling out her notepad and pen. The rain pounded against the windows, a steady, drumming reminder of the storm outside, but within the bakery, Mabel felt a different kind of energy brewing. First, we need to spread the word, Daisy suggested, writing quickly. Flyers, social media, maybe even some announcements on the local radio? Yes. Good ideas. Mabel replied, her excitement growing. Let us make it bright and cheerful. We want people to feel inspired to come together. It's not just about baking, it's about healing. Daisy glanced up from her notepad. Do you think we could print some flyers that reflect that message? We could also use stories from people in the community. Their experiences would bring a personal touch. Mabel wagged her finger, her thoughts buzzing. That's perfect. Each recipe can come with a little snippet about the person who made it. It'll remind people that they're part of something bigger. As ideas flowed between them, Mabel felt the atmosphere shift. The storm still raged outside, but it somehow no longer felt threatening. Now it was merely a backdrop for their shared hope. The wind howled, but Mabel's spirit soared. She turned back to the task at hand. We should set a date for the bake-off. Maybe next weekend? That gives us time to prepare. Daisy jotted it down eagerly. Next Saturday it is. And we can take shifts to manage things here at the bakery, so no one feels overwhelmed. They continued brainstorming, a flurry of ideas whipping around the room. It felt like the bakery, once filled merely with the aromas of baked goods, was now a cauldron of creativity bubbling over. Laughter echoed, a melody intertwined with the howling storm outside. But just as they were drawing close to finalizing their plans, the lights flickered again and then dimmed to nothing. Great, Mabel muttered, glancing around the darkened bakery. The warm glow of the oven still flickered in the corner, but the silence felt deafening now. Are you kidding me? Daisy's voice cut through the quiet. This is so frustrating. Mabel took a deep breath, reminding herself of all the good that was stirring within these walls. We can handle this, she said, trying to convince herself as much as Daisy. We've got candles and flashlights around here somewhere. The bakery doesn't stop because the lights do. They rummaged through drawers and found some emergency candles, lighting them to cast a comforting glow. The tumult outside felt far away now, the storm reduced to a mere soundtrack playing against the rhythm of their hopes. So, what's our next step? Daisy asked, her voice laced with determination despite the distraction of the storm. Mabel stared into the slight flicker of the candles, feeling her heartbeat steady. Let us brainstorm more ways we can make this a true community event. I want this bake-off to be special, and maybe we can add something to remember those who are struggling. Daisy's eyes brightened, a spark of realization igniting. What if we dedicate a portion of our funds to help those affected directly? Like families who need assistance after the storm? Yes! Mabel exclaimed, her heart expanding with the thought of their bakery serving a true purpose. It's not just about the recipes, it's about lifting each other up. The energy between them pulsed, a blend of excitement and quiet hope. But just as they found their footing, another rumble of thunder echoed ominously in the distance. Do you think we're really up for this? Daisy asked, her voice wavering for just a second. Mabel met her gaze, unwavering. We have to be. I believe in us. We'll show everyone that even when the storms of life strike, they can still find comfort, community, and delicious treats together. And just like that, hope filled the air once more. But as Mabel turned to check the windows, she couldn't shake the feeling that this storm was only the beginning. What else was lurking in the shadows? And could their plans survive the turmoil that might follow? The sudden crack of thunder jolted Mabel from her thoughts. The wind picked up again, rattling the bakery's windows with renewed fervor. She turned back to Daisy, who was staring wide-eyed with apprehension. Let us not let a little storm stop us, Mabel said, forcing a smile. This is a chance for the community to come together in the face of anything. Just imagine, she continued, her voice becoming animated, people walking through that door, not just to taste our treats, but to share stories, laughter, even tears. Daisy nodded slowly, her expression softening. You're right. We need to keep this momentum going. Let us think about how we can incorporate that into our bake-off, a sort of storytelling corner. Exactly. Mabel continued, excitement bubbling in her chest. We can set up a space for people to share their stories, maybe with a cozy chair and a microphone. A place to honor the struggles and joys of our community. As they envisioned the space, the bakery became warmer, a beacon amidst the storm. Mabel could almost see it, local families, children running gleefully, and smiles growing all around as people celebrated together. Daisy perked up. And we could have a recipe sharing section. People can write down their favorite recipes, maybe even share some baking tips. Oh, I love that. Mabel said, her heart racing with anticipation. It's like a tangible way for everyone to feel connected. Baking is about sharing, isn't it? It's about love. With renewed fervor, they began listing everything: tables, chairs, decorations, lights. For each item, they imagined the joy it would bring. The storm outside could roar all it wanted, inside, their dreams were forging a bright future. Just then, the lights flickered back on for a brief moment before dying once more, leaving them in darkness again. The sudden burst of light had given Mabel a glimpse of the bakery filled with life, and it was a flicker of hope she clung to. Look, the lights are fighting back, Daisy said with a chuckle, trying to break the tension. But Mabel's heart sank. What if this storm caused more trouble than they anticipated? They needed everything to go perfectly, especially with such a heartfelt plan forming in their minds. What if we lose more power? Mabel wondered aloud, anxiety creeping back in. What if we can't even have the bake-off? Daisy, sensing her worry, grabbed her hand. No matter what happens, we can adapt. We'll use whatever we have available, even if it's just us baking in candlelight. And we can keep the storytelling going around a fire if we have to. A flicker of warmth replaced Mabel's doubt. You're right. Winter nights spent around the fire with stories are the best. Maybe it's that warmth we need, more than anything else. They took a moment to breathe, letting the sounds of the storm dance outside. Mabel felt strengthened as the storm raged on, the pervasive feeling of unity simmering in the air. Suddenly, the door rattled fiercely, making them both jump. Heartbeats racing, they exchanged startled glances. Was someone out there? What if it was the storm's wrath? Mabel crept toward the door, peering through the window. Just beyond the glass, shadows danced and the wind howled ominously, but the bakery felt safe, cocooned in the light and warmth they had created. Maybe it's time to check it out, Daisy suggested nervously, but with a spark of bravery lit up in her. Together? Mabel asked, gripping the doorknob tight. Together, Daisy reassured her, drawing in a deep breath. As they opened the door, the gusts of wind whipped their hair around wildly. Outside was chaotic, yet somehow magical, the air charged with the electric reality of the storm. Do you see anything? They called out, their voices swallowed by the wind. But then Mabel saw something, a figure in the distance, struggling against the raging wind. What if it's someone in trouble? Daisy gasped, her heart starting to race. Without a second thought, Mabel pushed the door wider. We need to help them. But as they stepped into the storm, Mabel couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change everything. What awaited them out there in the tempest? And would their plans for the bake-off withstand the wildness of the world beyond the bakery? Mabel squinted against the biting wind, her heart pounding as she took in the sight before her. The figure grew clearer with each step, a woman wrapped tightly in a tattered coat, clutching what appeared to be a small child close to her chest. Mabel's resolve solidified as she rushed forward, not glancing back to see if Daisy followed. Hey! It's okay. Mabel shouted, trying to lift her voice above the chaos around them. We're here to help. The woman spun around, her eyes wide with fear, darting from side to side as if she were unsure of whether to trust them. Mabel noticed her hair, wild and soaked, plastered against her face. The child, peeking from beneath the woman's coat, looked terrified but seemed to cling to her mother, as if sensing that safety was near. Please, the woman called out, her voice trembling, I got lost in the storm. I need to find shelter. Instantly, Mabel's heart softened. This was more than just a stranger, this was a person needing help, just as they had spoken about moments ago. She stepped closer, careful to hide her own anxiety behind a smile. You're almost there. Just a little further, and you'll be safe inside our bakery. Come on, we want to let the storm get you. Daisy's strong voice rang out next to her. We have hot tea and cookies, and it'll be warm. You'll be alright, we promise. That seemed to soften the woman's fear, and she took a hesitant step forward, the child, now visible, starting to cry. Mabel's heart broke for them both. She could only imagine what they had gone through. With urgency, Mabel gestured for them to come inside. They pushed against the wind, Mabel leading and Daisy bringing up the rear to shield them from the worst of the storm. Once they reached the door, Mabel flung it open wide, allowing a gust of warm air to escape into the storm and welcoming the small family inside. As they crossed the threshold, the contrast was stark, from chaos to warmth. This was a haven. The woman collapsed against the counter, gasping for breath, while the little one shivered in her arms. Mabel quickly grabbed a towel, wrapping it around the child to warm her. Thank you, the woman whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. I didn't think I'd find anyone out here. Mabel could see her hands shaking, and she knew they needed to comfort her. You're safe now. We're here. Would you like something hot to drink? Yes please, she replied, her voice still shaky. Mabel hurried into the kitchen, starting up the kettle. As the water heated, she turned back to see Daisy bringing over a chair for the woman. The bakery, once just a place of business, had transformed into a sanctuary, held sacred by shared humanity. Mabel prepared steaming mugs of tea, adding honey for sweetness, and joined Daisy at the table where they placed the cups in front of their guests. "Tell us your name," she urged gently. "I'm Clara and this is my daughter, Emma," the woman said, gratitude pouring from her while she wrapped her arms around her child, who finally stopped crying, soothed by her mother's presence. Hearing their names ignited a warmth in Mabel's heart. They were simply two souls caught in a storm just like anyone else. And the bake-off seemed more significant now, not just a day of sharing recipes, but a gathering for connection, healing, and stories. But when the lights flickered again and finally went out completely, Mabel felt a swell of worry. They could be left in complete darkness, facing an unknown fate. What would happen to everyone gathered here? The safe haven they created might soon feel vulnerable again. As she held Emma's small hand, she clenched her jaw. Would they find a way through the heartbreaking chaos that awaited them? Uncertain of what lay ahead, the true warmth of their gathering shimmered in the gloom. Together, she thought, we can overcome anything. And as the storm howled outside, a deeper question lingered in Mabel's mind. What stories might emerge from this unexpected gathering, and would they find the strength to shine through the darkness? Mabel held her breath as the room plunged into darkness. The faint sound of the storm outside filled the void, but it was the palpable silence inside that left her uneasy. If only she could find the matches or a flashlight before panic set in. "Clara," she called gently, trying to sound calm. "Don't worry. We'll find a light. Just hold on to Emma." She could hear Clara's breathing, quick and uneven, and it tore at her heart. This family had already faced so much and now they were here in the dark, trapped by a storm they never asked to confront. Daisy reached out towards the kitchen shelf, her fingers skimming over jars and utensils until they landed on a box of matches. "Got it," she exclaimed softly, relief immediately flooding Mabel's heart. Mabel watched as Daisy struck a match. The tiny flame flickered to life, illuminating the corner of the room. With careful hands, Daisy lit a few candles scattered on the counter. The warm glow cast soft shadows, creating an intimate cocoon around them. "See?" Mabel said cheerfully, her voice steady. "Just like that. We can get through this." The small group gathered around the flickering candles, the light bringing not just visibility, but a renewed sense of safety. Mabel felt a bit of tension ease from her shoulders, replaced by the familiar warmth of human connection. She caught a glimpse of Emma's small smile, a treasure in the dimness, and felt a spark of hope. "Do you like stories, Emma?" Mabel asked, kneeling down to the little girl's height. "Yes." Emma's eyes sparkled, her small fingers still intertwined in her mother's hand. "Then, why don't we share some?" Daisy suggested, sitting down on the floor beside them, her voice bright against the storm outside. "I love spooky stories." "Do you?" Emma nodded vigorously, her fear slowly melting away. Clara looked hesitant but grateful, and Mabel knew they would all need something to distract them from the howling winds. "Okay, I'll go first," Daisy declared, the excitement in her voice unfurling like the warm, fresh bread they baked every day. Once upon a time, in a little village just like ours, there was a bakery that smelled so good. As Daisy spun her tale, the storm outside seemed to lessen its ferocity, each word weaving a little more light into their world. Mabel watched Clara, her initial tension easing as she became captivated by the story. As the tale flowed from Daisy's lips, a sudden thought struck Mabel. Stories have power, she thought. They connect us, reveal truths, and remind us of our own strength. Clara and Emma weren't just victims of the storm, they brought their own story, a narrative that might intertwine with hers. This moment felt more profound, almost magical, as each candle flickered along with each word. Suddenly, Clara spoke up, her voice quiet but steady. "Maybe I should tell you about our adventure, how we ended up lost out there." Mabel felt a lump in her throat. Would this be a tale of sorrow or courage? She exchanged a hopeful glance with Daisy, who was equally engaged. The darkness felt less like a barrier and more like a shared cocoon filled with the promise of revelations. Clara took a deep breath, her eyes brighter now, reflecting the candlelight. "It all started when we decided to visit my grandmother. Just as Clara's story began to unfold, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the bakery in a sudden burst of brightness. Mabel's heart raced, her hope mingling with dread at the interruption. They had moved from darkness to light, but would Clara's story still unfold? But that doesn't really matter. Clara's eyes sparkled with renewed energy, as if she had glimpsed a thread of connection through the storm. What matters is how we found each other tonight. Mabel couldn't help but smile, but what Clara was about to share after that. What pivotal moment led them to this bakery refuge? The future felt uncertain, but within that lay their shared journey, ready to be uncovered. What other stories were waiting to be told? Emboldened by that thought, Mabel leaned in closer, excitement stirring within. The night was far from over, and their adventure together was just beginning. As the bright lights bathed the bakery in their warm glow, Mabel felt a strange sense of loss amidst the comfort. The flickering candles held an intimacy that the overhead lights could not replace. The shadows that danced around them had seemed more alive, more personal. Clara's words lingered in the air, creating an almost electric anticipation. "Go on," Mabel urged gently, her heart still racing from the storm and the revelations she sensed were about to unfold. Clara smiled hesitantly, still grasping Emma's hand tightly. "Well, after we left, it was like we stepped into another world. The path to my grandmother's house isn't really a road. It's just a narrow trail that winds through the woods." Mabel imagined the trail, dark and twisted, as if it were alive, beckoning them into the unknown. Clara's voice wove a vivid picture, bringing the woods to life in Mabel's mind. "We thought we could shortcut through the trees, you know. But it started to rain." Clara's fingers fidgeted with Emma's, her eyes glistening with an emotion that was part nostalgia, part fear. "The wind picked up, and before we knew it, we were lost." Mabel swallowed hard. She envisioned Clara and her daughter, cold and alone, dwarfed by the towering trees of the woods. The frightening thought of them being out there, exposed to the storm, sent a chill down her spine. "But that's not the worst of it," Clara continued, her voice steadying amidst the memory. "The deeper we went, the darker it became. I thought we wouldn't make it." Daisy leaned closer, her eyes fixed on Clara, dark with intensity. "What happened next?" Clara took a deep breath. Then Emma started humming a little song that she loves. The smile that emerged was bittersweet, tinged with reverence. It was a simple tune, but it pierced through the thunder and wind, a little light pushing back the dark around us. Mabel felt a rush of warmth, her heart swelling with pride for Emma, who seemed like a brave little beacon. The atmosphere shifted as Clara's face glowed with affection. Hearing her, I knew we had to keep moving. With every step, I sang that song with her, and it gave us strength. Somehow, we found our way back. "But how did you end up here?" Daisy asked, her voice gentle, still clinging to Clara's words. "There was a moment when I thought it was hopeless," Clara said, her voice nearly breaking. "But then I looked at Emma, and I knew I had to fight for us. Just like the bakery became a shelter tonight, so did the music. It guided us, kept the fear at bay." Mabel caught Emma's wide-eyed gaze, radiating happiness, free from the grip of fear that had once squeezed her heart. In that moment, she felt a swell of unity blossoming among them. Here they all were, chasing away fears with stories and songs, their lives intertwined in the most unexpected way. Just as Clara leaned back, appearing lighter in spirit, a loud crack of thunder outside broke their reverie. An unsettling shiver ran through the bakery, making the flickering lights dance. "That thunder doesn't sound good," Mabel murmured, glancing nervously toward the window. Another storm swell loomed just beyond the glass. "Let us hope it holds off for a bit," Daisy replied, her smile fading slightly. "We still have more stories to share, don't we?" "Yes," Emma chirped, eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. But Mabel sensed something unsettling beneath the surface, a darkness that could easily return. "Maybe Clara can tell us a little more about your grandmother," she suggested, hoping to keep the mood hopeful. "What is she like?" Clara paused, her expression thoughtful. "Oh, she is," Well, she's a storyteller herself. What kind of stories? Emma asked excitedly, her little fingers still wrapped tightly around her mother's hand. As Clara began to respond, Mabel found herself yearning for more than just tales of the past. She felt a stirring within, as if their stories were still unspooling, threads of fate that had yet to fully entwine. Just then, the lights flickered uncertain before plunging into darkness once again, leaving them shrouded once more in eerie silence. All at once, their hearts raced with a fear that mirrored the storm outside. Clara? Mabel heard the tremor in her own voice. What happens now? The darkness thickened around them, echoing her unanswered questions. Would they find their way out of this night unchanged? Or would the storm outside become a deeper reflection of the tempests brewing within? The darkness wrapped around them like a thick blanket, heavy with uncertainty. Mabel felt her pulse quicken as she clutched the edge of the table. Just seconds before, they had been wrapped in the warmth of shared stories and laughter. Now, the shadows felt closer than ever. Clara? Emma's small voice broke through the silence, quivering with both innocence and fear. Mabel could almost hear the thud of Clara's heart as she prepared to speak. Let me find the candles, Clara said, rising with hesitation. The wooden floor creaked under her weight, each sound amplified in the stillness. The first step into the unknown was always the hardest. Can I come? Emma asked, her tone urging, small legs already pushing back from the table. No, sweetie. Just wait right there, Clara replied gently but firmly. She moved cautiously toward the back of the bakery, a sliver of light from Emma's brightly colored sweater popping against the blackness. Mabel listened as Clara rummaged through cabinets, her breath steadying as she focused on the task. Around them, the wind howled, rattling the glass in the windows. The storm outside seemed to draw closer, its fierce energy mirroring the hesitation building inside the bakery. Mabel could feel Daisy's presence, a comforting weight beside her. Guess the storm didn't get the memo about cozy nights and shared stories, she muttered, forcing a chuckle that fell flat in the dark. Maybe it needs a little song to lighten the mood, Daisy suggested, a wry smile in her voice. I can't carry a tune to save my life. Mabel retorted playfully, but the heaviness lingered in her heart. Songs and stories had been their lifeline. She could only hope they had enough light to chase away these shadows. Clara returned, holding a lit candle high above her head. The flickering flame danced, casting warm, wavering light around the room. Here we go, she said with a relieved smile. Now we can see each other again. Their faces illuminated, Mabel spotted the lingering tension in Clara's eyes, the unshakable residue of fear. She had to know more about that grandmother, the storyteller who could weave truth into tales and turn darkness into light. What kind of stories does she tell? Mabel pressed, leaning in closer. Is it more like fables or? More like life lessons, Clara began, enthusiasm threading through her voice. She has this way of using her past to teach us. Every tale is wrapped in wisdom and imagination. It's as if every family gathering included a lesson hidden in humor or adventure. Like McGraw's bakery? Emma chimed in, her sparkle returning. Mabel chuckled, the little girl's wit infectious. Exactly. Clara laughed, the sounds soothing like honey against the storm. She reminds us that every experience, no matter how wild or scary, can turn into something beautiful. What was her scariest story? Mabel asked, the inquiry leaving her with a subtle flutter of fear and excitement. Oh, it's about the time she got lost in the same woods, Clara replied, her eyes gleaming with nostalgia. But she didn't have Emma humming to guide her back. All she had were her thoughts, and another crack of thunder resonated, shaking the walls of the bakery. The candle flickered and swayed, shadows flickering wildly, as if the darkness responded to Clara's words. But what happened to her? Emma urged, her voice taut with anticipation. Mabel found herself leaning closer to Clara, eager for the story and longing to feel the warmth of hope begin to radiate through the fear. Clara hesitated for a moment before plunging into the memory. Her heart raced the same way yours did, but she found a way out. Just then, another loud thump echoed, as if something had fallen outside. The candle flickered dangerously low, and Mabel's breath caught in her throat. Could they be safe here, or was the storm calling them back into the tales they feared most? What if we lose the light? Daisy murmured, her voice laced with anxiety. Mabel caught Clara's gaze, and they shared an unspoken understanding that each heartbeat was a whisper of past truths waiting to be uncovered. What do you think happened next? Clara asked, her voice a mix of mischief and suspense, stirring the air around them as the flickering flame danced perilously close to the edge of the table. And just like that, the night unfolded. The warmth of connection permeated the bakery as Clara continued her story, the flickering candle casting gentle shadows across eager faces. Mabel felt the storm's fury swirling outside but found solace in the soft glow, knowing these moments were what truly illuminated their lives. After my grandmother got lost, Clara recounted, her voice steady despite the thunder rumbling ominously, she realized she had to rely on her inner compass. She remembered a story from her past about courage and determination. That's what guided her back. Mabel's heart swelled as she listened. And that's how she became the storyteller she is today. She thought. It made sense that wisdom would ripple through generations like a powerful wave, tapping into buried courage just when it was needed most. Just then, Emma piped up, her voice filled with conviction. I want to be a storyteller too. I can hum and sing my way through the storm. Her small grin brought a wave of warmth that swept through the gathered souls, connecting them all in that moment. That's the spirit, Emma. Daisy chimed in, leaning forward. Imagine all the stories you'll have to tell. For a brief moment, Mabel felt like they were crafting a story of their own, woven together through shared experiences and stitched with laughter over whispered fears. The world outside retreated as stories filled the cocooned warmth of the bakery. But just as the atmosphere lifted, the lights flickered again, an unsettling reminder of the storm's ferocity. Shivers darted down Mabel's spine, and in that awareness, Clara's voice broke through the tension. It's all part of the story. The uncertainty makes the ending richer, doesn't it? Just like life, we have to embrace both the light and the shadows. Yeah. Emma agreed, her enthusiasm bubbling. And every story needs a hero. Mabel's heart raced as she thought how true that was. She felt a flicker of purpose coming from deep inside, spreading beyond the fears nestled in her heart. What if we became the heroes of our own stories? Mabel said, her voice daringly bold. This bake-off will not just be about sharing recipes, but about coming together to face whatever storms life throws our way. A wave of determination flickered among them. Clara glanced at Mabel and smiled, tears welling in her eyes. That's it, Mabel. We can storm through this together. As a single candle danced a breathless waltz, Mabel felt waves of warmth break down the idol of fear. We'll honor everyone who needs hope, families like yours, like mine. Every face sparkled in the candlelight, fueled by the urgency of purpose. They began discussing their plans, their laughter filling the space as they gained momentum. What started as stories became hopeful ambitions, rallying together in preparation for the bake-off. I have lots of family recipes. Clara bounced back with newfound energy. And if we sprinkle in stories as we go, they'll not just resonate here, but in every home in Maplewood. Yes. Daisy exclaimed, let us invite folks to share their stories while they bake. They're not just recipes, they're love in action. Every bite will carry a memory. Mabel added, feeling emboldened. Let us encourage families to cook together, invited by a shared spirit of resilience. Once again, amidst ideas threading together like the sweet scent of baked goods, they became engulfed in the warmth surrounding them. The storm outside felt less daunting, its howls dimmed by the excitement swirling within their hearts. As they planned, Clara's words resonated deeper. This storm tapped into something deeper and unleashed stories that can change lives. Let us light the way for others. But then, as if in response to Clara's sentiment, the lights flickered and buzzed before shattering into darkness once more. For a brief heartbeat, silence engulfed them, encompassing the weight of uncertainty. But together, they stood resolute against the storm, hearts beating as one in harmony. Stick together. Clara's resolute voice broke through the void, igniting a sense of shared courage. Find your light inside you. In that moment, as they huddled close, Mabel understood that true transformation comes from togetherness. They were a community woven tightly, strong enough to face the tempest. The soft glow of candles struggled against the darkness, bringing texture to their plans. No matter how raging the storm outside became, within those walls, they held a flicker of hope, a glimmer of a brighter tomorrow waiting to be built. Together, we can rise, Mabel whispered, her heart swelling with pride in every person gathered. Let this bake-off be a celebration of us all. We owe it to every spirit who depends on our strength. Absolutely. Daisy agreed, her voice ringing with determination. With shared hearts and unwavering belief, they prepared to step into the unknown. The storm outside continued, but within, they felt their light shining ever brighter. And together, they knew no storm could hold their spirit down. Now, here's where you come in. This is the moment to show your support. If this heartwarming conclusion touched your soul, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let us keep this positivity flowing. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. I want to hear from you. This community thrives on connection, a bond we can uplift together. Let's keep the light shining bright.